You used to think loneliness was reserved for empty apartments and quiet Friday nights, for single seats at the back of crowded restaurants or hospital waiting rooms where no one knows your name. But then, one morning, you find yourself cradling a newborn, your own flesh, your own blood, and the silence is so deafening, so expansive, it feels like the air might collapse in on itself. No one told you motherhood would feel like this. No one said it would be possible to be needed so completely, so desperately, and yet feel so invisible at the exact same time. Imagine waking up after 2 hours of fractured sleep, your body stitched and sore, milk leaking onto sheets you haven't had the strength to change. You stumble into the kitchen, baby clutched to your chest, and realize the world outside your window is moving on without you. Coffee shops opening, people going to work, kids laughing as they bike to school, and you are here, trapped in a loop of feeding, rocking, crying, feeding again. You tell yourself you should feel grateful. You tell yourself you should feel whole. But gratitude doesn't fill the void when your days stretch into a formless gray, when your once vibrant life has been narrowed down to the square footage between the couch, the crib, and the kitchen sink. There's a cruel irony in it, isn't there? You are never alone, this tiny human depends on you for everything, yet you have never felt more isolated. How can that be? You scroll past the curated photos on your phone, mothers smiling at farmers' markets, babies dressed in perfectly coordinated outfits, sun-dappled family picnics. No one posts the 3A breakdowns. No one captures the hollow-eyed stares at the wall while your baby screams, and nothing you do seems to matter. You start to wonder if you're broken, if maybe, deep down, you're not cut out for this after all. They told you about the sleepless nights. They told you about the diapers, the teething, the tantrums. But no one warned you about the invisible mourning, the slow, creeping grief for the life you left behind, the woman you used to be. She is still there, somewhere beneath the spit-up stained shirts and the endless to-do lists, but her voice has grown faint. She watches from the corners, unseen and unheard. When was the last time someone asked you how you were doing and actually wanted to hear the answer? When was the last time you felt like more than just an appendage, a vessel, a caretaker moving through space without anyone truly seeing you? The walls of your home, once comforting, now seem to lean closer, shrinking in size with each passing day. Conversations with adults become a luxury. A text message, a quick call, breadcrumbs tossed into the void to remind you that somewhere, beyond these walls, a larger world still exists. And yet, reaching out feels impossible. How do you explain a loneliness so layered, so paradoxical, that it sounds almost shameful to admit? I'm never alone, but I feel completely abandoned. Who would understand that without thinking you were ungrateful, weak, selfish? You tell yourself to push through. You tell yourself this is just a phase. You whisper mantras under your breath while bouncing the baby for the 100th time that morning. This is what you wanted. This is what you chose. It won't always feel like this. But mantras don't erase the quiet ache in your chest, the dull throb of unmet needs stacking up inside you like unpaid bills. No one prepares you for the moments when you are holding the greatest love of your life and you are lonelier than you have ever been. And that loneliness doesn't announce itself with fanfare. It creeps in through the cracks, the unreturned texts, the cancelled plans, the friend who promises to visit and never does. It builds in the small moments, the conversations where everyone talks about the baby but no one asks about you, the family gatherings where your needs are secondary to nap schedules and feeding times. You realize, slowly and painfully, that the world loves mothers in theory. In practice, though, it forgets them. It forgets that behind every smiling baby is a woman learning to rebuild herself from rubble. And the cruelest part? Somewhere inside, you also begin to forget yourself. You start to question when the forgetting began. Maybe it was the day you brought the baby home and everyone else disappeared. Or maybe it started earlier, in the endless appointments where your body was measured, weighed, poked, prodded, but your soul was never once asked how it was coping with becoming a battlefield. Motherhood is supposed to be natural, they said, instinctual. They forgot to mention that instincts can drown under the weight of exhaustion, that even the purest love can be heavy enough to suffocate. Imagine walking through a crowded marketplace, shouting for help, but everyone you pass smiles and nods and keeps moving. They see you, but not the version of you gasping silently inside. They see the strong mother, the lucky woman, the blessed one. They don't see the tremble in your hands, the way you flinch at sudden noises, the way you sometimes catch your own reflection and feel a jolt of unfamiliarity. Who is that woman, hollow-eyed and silent, looking back? You begin to build walls around yourself without even meaning to. It starts small, a polite "I'm fine" when someone asks, a forced laugh when someone jokes, enjoy every minute. You nod along. You nod so much you start to believe your own lies. Because the alternative, the messy, uncomfortable truth, is too ugly to say out loud. I feel invisible. I feel trapped. Sometimes, I wonder if I made a mistake. You hate yourself for even thinking it. Guilt coils tight around your ribs, squeezing every time you crave something more than this sacred, relentless job. You love your child. You love your child. You love your child. The words beat against your skull like a war drum, as if saying them enough times could cancel out the loneliness. But love and loneliness are not opposites. You learn this the hard way. You learn that you can adore your child with a ferocity that scorches the earth and still mourn the pieces of yourself that got buried alive. Where are the conversations about this? Where are the spaces where mothers can confess these forbidden truths without fear of judgment, without being told to cherish every moment or look on the bright side? You wonder if such spaces exist at all, or if every mother is secretly carrying her own small island of sorrow, pretending the tides aren't slowly eroding the shore. Some days, you find yourself resenting your partner, even when they're doing their best. You watch them walk out the door to work, to lunch, to the gym, and the sting is immediate, visceral. They get to re-enter the world. You stay behind, tethered to a life you chose but didn't fully understand. And maybe that's the worst betrayal of all, the realization that you were complicit in your own erasure. You told yourself it would be temporary. You told yourself it was a season. You never expected the season to feel endless, a winter without thaw. Small indignities pile up until they feel enormous. Someone addresses you only as mommy in public, forgetting your real name. Friends stop inviting you out because they assume you're too busy now. You sit in the dark with a sleeping baby on your chest, afraid to move, because even your own bodily needs, hunger, thirst, the simple need to stretch, come second to the demands of someone else's survival. No one told you that motherhood would feel like living in a house you don't recognize anymore, surrounded by familiar furniture that somehow feels strange. No one told you that your social media feeds would become graveyards of former friendships, the people who drifted away not because they stopped caring, but because your worlds no longer aligned. No one told you that when the baby finally falls asleep and the house is still, you might find yourself standing in the kitchen, staring out into the night, wondering if this loneliness is permanent or if one day, you will wake up and remember how to belong to yourself again. Sometimes, in those silent moments, you catch fleeting glimpses of your old self, an echo of laughter, a forgotten song humming in your bones, a muscle memory of who you once were before you became someone's whole world. You hold on to those glimpses like lifelines, tiny sparks in the darkness, because part of you knows, buried beneath the exhaustion, beneath the isolation, that you are not truly gone. You are simply becoming, and becoming is never clean, never easy, never painless. It is a messy, violent rebirth. It demands everything: your skin, your blood, your old dreams, your easy certainties. It demands that you let yourself unravel before you can be stitched together into something new. But tonight, you are still unraveling. Tonight, you are still halfway between the woman you were and the mother you are becoming. And in that liminal space, in that quiet purgatory, the loneliness is so vast it feels almost holy. You wonder, would you still have chosen this path if you had known? If someone had whispered in your ear the full truth, not just the love, but the loneliness too, would you have turned away? Or would you have said yes anyway, the way people always say yes to the things that terrify and transform them in equal measure? The question lingers in the darkness, unanswered, because deep down, you already know, some journeys are not chosen because they are easy. They are chosen because, even through the loneliness, even through the breaking, something inside you knew it had to be lived. Something inside you knew there would be a day when the pieces come back together, stronger, sharper, wilder than before. But tonight, all you have is the unraveling. The unraveling does not announce its end with a grand symphony. It happens slowly, imperceptibly, like the first thin strands of dawn threading across a bruised sky. It happens in stolen moments you almost miss, moments so small, so quiet, they barely seem worth noticing. A laugh that bubbles up, surprising you with its sincerity. A morning where you wake and realize your chest isn't weighed down by invisible stones. A day when the baby, now toddling on unsteady legs, clutches your hand and looks at you like you are the sun, the moon, and the air between. And for a heartbeat, just one, you feel seen again. Not as a caretaker, not as a milk machine or a fixer of boo-boos or a manager of nap schedules, but as you. It's not enough to erase the loneliness entirely. It lingers still, like the smell of rain in the air long after the storm has passed. But it softens at the edges. It loosens its claws. You start to understand that loneliness isn't the enemy you thought it was. It's the midwife of transformation. It's the dark cocoon where old selves go to die so that new ones might take their place. And if you listen closely on the nights when the house is finally quiet, when the hum of the refrigerator and the baby's soft breathing are the only sounds, you hear something else beneath the loneliness. The faint, tentative beating of your own becoming. No one told you it would feel this way. No one prepared you for how sharp the growing pains would be, how becoming a mother would first require losing yourself in ways you didn't know you could survive. But survival was never the point. The point was the metamorphosis. You see it now. Motherhood was never meant to preserve you. It was meant to consume you and forge something new from the ashes. The world doesn't talk about that. It dresses motherhood up in pastel colors and soft lullabies. It skips over the blood and bone of it, the way it peels you raw and demands you learn to live without your old armor. No one tells you that love this big will demand the surrender of everything you once thought you needed to survive. Your independence, your certainty, your carefully crafted plans, all stripped away, until what's left is something terrifying in its nakedness, a version of you too raw to pretend, too broken to perform. And it's from there, only from there, that the rebuilding begins. You find yourself relearning how to be human in this strange, new skin. You find yourself reaching out, haltingly, to other women who bear the same invisible scars. The ones who no longer blink when you say, "Some days I miss my old life," because they have said it too, into their own dark nights. You learn that real connection is built not in moments of strength, but in moments of vulnerability. When you finally stop pretending you have it all together. When you finally let the cracks show. And through those cracks, other women step forward, not with judgment, but with the quiet offering of their own brokenness. "Me too," they whisper. "I thought I was the only one." And just like that, the loneliness fractures. Not all at once, not cleanly, but enough. Enough for the light to get in. You stop measuring your worth in how perfectly you mother. You start measuring it in the way you keep showing up. Even on the days when your hands shake. Even on the nights when you cry in the bathroom, muffling the sound so the baby won't hear. You show up. And somehow, impossibly, that becomes enough. Motherhood stops being a role you perform and becomes a place you live from, a messy, sacred, feral place. You are not the same woman who walked into this labyrinth months or years ago. You are a woman who has learned how to sit with emptiness, how to love without losing yourself, how to mourn and celebrate the same life, sometimes in the same breath. You no longer resent the loneliness. You recognize it now as an inevitable companion in any life built from fierce, relentless love. And maybe, just maybe, the loneliness has taught you something the easy moments never could. That becoming whole isn't about filling every empty space. It's about learning to sit inside those spaces without fear. You stand at the window again, looking out into the dark, but this time the night does not feel endless. You know now that dawn will come. You know now that you are both the woman who once felt invisible and the woman who chose, every day, to keep going anyway. You are the mother who understands that loneliness is not proof of failure. It is proof that you are still reaching for connection, still hungry for meaning, still unwilling to accept a life that shrinks you. It is proof that you have not given up. And maybe that's the real secret no one tells you about motherhood. It is not just the making of a child. It is the remaking of a woman, stronger, sharper, softer, fiercer than before. A woman who knows, in her bones, that loneliness is not the enemy. It is the doorway, the crucible, the wild, howling place where you are stripped bare only to find that, against all odds, you are still here, still standing, still becoming. And even on the loneliest nights, you are never truly alone. You have yourself. You have your becoming. And that is enough. It has always been enough.